We got Daniel here. Some of you know him as Vladimir.
Dr. David Wood, you are very big Islamophobe. So we brought you here to ask you some very difficult questions.
David Wood, you big Islamophobe.
Dude, most people can't get me to break if I'm in serious acting mode and stuff like this. But you being all up in my face and going, David Wood, you're a big Islamophobe. You got me, man. You got me.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So, hey, what you're like out in the middle of nowhere. So isn't this like 2 or 3 in the morning or something for you?
Yeah, it's just over 1 o'clock here, so the most of the fireworks is gone.
All right.
So
cool,
Happy
cool.
New Year's from this part of Europe. I can tell your future is awesome.
Yeah, it is. That's cool.
Yeah, yes. It hasn't been any. It's been a good year for Dawah so far because they haven't had time to mess up yet.
2025 has been a good year for Dawah.
So far.
Yeah, so far in Eastern Europe because they haven't had a chance to mess up very terribly. All right, so Daniel, we started going through Jai and DOC's top 5 Dawah fails of 2025. We're going to jump back in that. We'll pause for to discuss it. We did have a question from Stefan the Pelted here for Issa. He says, Issa, what do you think when Christians bash Allah with you on and you just sit there in your beanie and you're just sitting there and you're not flipping out, not threatening to brutally murder them? Personally, I would not take it if someone bashes my God. So what's going on here, Issa?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I think for me, one thing that's really important is accountability. And that's why I go to a lot of these spaces. I do a lot of the work I do is interfaith dialogue. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you hear intense types of perspectives. And I think what's really important is to look at the dialogue, to look at the different positions. This is my personal opinion about God and the divine. If God and the divine are real, then anything anybody says isn't going to hurt God because God isn't weak.
He's not made of glass.
That's it. And I think for a lot of folks who get really angry and upset, it's because they think God is weak. They think God crumples under a punch. So, I mean, if that's what you think, then I don't know. Is that the God you really want to dedicate your life to? I think that's an important question to ask.
You got that, Stefan? You just got crushed by Issa breaking it down that he doesn't believe in a little weakling God. We do have a bunch of super chats. Let's go through. A bunch of them are just like saying Happy New Year and stuff like that. So let me go through a couple of these and we'll jump back into the video real quick. Karen Fisher, blessed 2025 to you. Well, that's still a few hours away for me, Karen, but thank you. This, I think 2025, doesn't 2025 just sound like it's going to be an awesome, there's something about it, like 2025. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's super cool.
Here's from Issa.
I agree. It has that ring to it.
It does. I'm liking it. I'm liking the sound of it. So we have a super chat here from Issa. Hey, Issa, how you doing, man? He said, have a blessed 2025, y'all. TikTok Happy New Year clock from Germany. And where did it go? Where did it go? Okay, here we go. This is exactly, so this is still on his Twitter page, Jake's Twitter page. He's responding to Daniel, but he said, this is exactly why I said you're the most dishonest person I've spoken to in my life.
Whoa. Yeah.
He's interacted. He's had lots of debates with Christians, and he's saying that Daniel Hakikachu is the most dishonest person he's ever seen in his life. That is brutal. I mean, that is brutal. Imagine you're talking to someone and he just said, you are the most dishonest person I've ever met in my entire life, or I've ever talked to in my entire life. That's like savage, man.
Yeah.
But that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting with Dawah. All right, let's go ahead and let Jake finish exposing, I guess, Daniel here. I don't know. These are the Dawah Wars, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Because of the same issues that are coming to the surface now with Daniel related to Aqidah. The honest reality, he and Jay Dyer were actually correct. They're asking Daniel his position on Yad Allah, the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know, there are different so-called positions amongst the different schools of theology. And Daniel says, oh, well, it can be interpreted as power, as quwwah, and which has been refuted by our scholars for quite a long time, or it can be interpreted this way or that way. He doesn't want to give a clear answer, but they're asking, what is your position, Mr. Haqiqatju? And what does he say? It's irrelevant to this debate. No, it's not irrelevant to this debate. And then when you ask your next question, it exposes your hypocrisy of how it is directly related to this debate. Why? Because that section of the debate was on Trinity versus Tawheed. What is your position on Tawheed? Of course it is directly related to this debate, whether you're an Ash'ari or a Maturidi or an Athari or Salafi, because there are true and significant substantive differences between those three schools. All of these different views are relevant. On paper, Daniel was supposed to be a Salafi or Athari, and he should consider Ijaz's certain positions that he holds as a Maturidi be deviant, and vice versa. But the honest reality is they didn't have any business teaming up because they don't agree on the same creed. But it was clear he did not want to actually defend any distinctive position. And he told me this explicitly. So I originally was supposed to be teaming up with Daniel. We were preparing for this section of the debate, and he told me directly that he did not want to defend any distinctively Athari position in this part of the debate. He did not want to. And I told him, dude, how could I do that? I'm very openly Athari. I criticize the other so-called creeds. And Daniel actually thought that, oh, it would detract from being able to attack the Trinity, and it would take too long, and we wouldn't get back to attacking their actual view. But the honest reality is, and this is what I said, and Daniel will know this, and there were other people involved with the discussion prior to this who know and were privy to what I said the exact opposite is going to happen. If you do this, it's going to be embarrassing. You're going to look terrible. They're going to beat you over the head with this and keep making the exact same point, pressing you on this, and it's going to look really bad. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what I said was going to happen. And they buried you. They buried you completely on this topic. When that is supposed to be the Islamic position, is supposed to be far superior to the Trinity. So it was very clear. And I told them this is exactly what's going to happen. And they got slayed faithfully on Trinity versus Tawheed. And I will openly state that. This is why I did not appear on the Fresh and Fit debate.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Wow. That's actually, that's pretty brutal, man. That's him saying you guys got crushed, which is true.
Slayed. They got slayed.
Faithfully.
Yeah.
Can I just say that I like my name, except from in this context. I wish that he would not. I wish he would say Daniel Haqiqatju each time he mentioned that name.
Yeah, Daniel.
Considering the name change.
Anyone named Daniel is just the most deceptive person we've ever run into, ever.
Yeah. Why is his name Daniel? Isn't he a Muslim? He should change it to something like Danu or something. Like.
Yeah, that's weird.
Hey, hang on one second.
Quran.
We've got, let's see who we got here. We've got... hey, there we go. Mike Jones.
Who?
This all looks pretty gay to me.
What? Hey, how you doing, Mike? So we've been
Good.
We've been going through the top 5 Dawah fails of 2024, and apparently it's hard. That's hard to narrow it down to a top 5 list, because I'm looking, I'm like, I can think of all these other ones. And so it's actually rough. But we've been talking about what an awful year it's been for Dawah. And I have to say, I've never seen a worse year where I look back and I can't look at, like, every other year there's like some debate or something like that where they do really well and that's the only thing they focus on for like the next 10 years and so on. But I can't think of anything this year that went well for them in any area. Now you focus on lots of things. You focus on dealing with all sorts of issues and stuff. But what's been your impression so far?
Well, yeah, it's the same. I had another debate, kind of like a discussion on Instagram with a Muslim called Dean Responds a few months ago on child marriage again. And yeah, a lot of similar things. Like he basically said flat out in the debate that well, we don't really care what science shows us because we just know Islam is already true and perfect. So whatever it says is obviously true and perfect. And science, whenever it contradicts it, has to be wrong. It's like, dude, you just basically admitted you're using circular reasoning here for any argument you're going to use for child marriage, because everything you said is just going to be assuming that the Islamic view is true, therefore child marriage is okay. And I was like, what are we even dealing with here? Like, is this how low Dawah is now going, where we just don't even argue objectively for like Islam? We just assume it is true. I mean, like, what is the objective standard Christians and Muslims can use to judge which religion is more likely to be true? Well, you'd think studying the natural world, science, would be a good place to go, but apparently we can't do that now.
It is, you just brought that up, that now it's just circular reasoning, but I've been bringing up this issue a lot with AP, in that the arguments that they were using 10 years ago, which were supposed to be the proof of Islam, like the miraculous perfect preservation of the Quran, that came crashing to the ground because it was built on false claims and so on. It eventually got exposed, and they admit it now. The scientific miracles, that the Quran is filled with these miraculous scientific insights that couldn't possibly have been known by someone in 7th century Arabia, that's now been exposed. So in other words, 10 years ago, if you said, hey, if you're talking about Islam and hey, why should we believe this? You'd get all these arguments. All the main arguments that they used to use have all been destroyed, even according to their own Dawah guys who won't use them. So for this past year, I've seriously been wondering, like, what are you going to argue now? How are you going to defend Islam? Are you going to come up with new arguments? It's not going to go well for you, because the Dawah guys have a habit of inventing really bad arguments based on complete nonsense and taking advantage of people's ignorance because they're not aware of this argument and so on. It's new, and they'll get some mileage out of it. They'll run around. In other words, when no one knows anything about the history of the Quran, it allows you to go out there and say, perfect preservation, miraculous, right down to the letter, dot for dot, and no one knows how to refute it. Well, now we're in the age of the internet, where if you make something up, it's pretty easy to squash it pretty quickly, much easier than it was 20 or 30 years ago. And so it's kind of hard to make up new arguments. I've seen a couple of them, like Muhammad Hijab and so on, circle back to arguments that were used like 30 or 40 years ago that were refuted. And after they were refuted, they stopped using them. But now they're kind of circling back to those arguments because since they haven't been using them in a while, people aren't familiar with them. People don't actually know that the original purpose of pointing out that Muhammad had a child bride was that if you go back 20 years ago, one of their main arguments, like top 3 or 4 arguments, was Muhammad is his moral character is so perfect and flawless. The only explanation for how morally perfect this guy is that he's a prophet of God. That's the only possible explanation. They actually use this. And so that worked when no one knew anything about the history of Muhammad. That worked very well. So that's when we started bringing up, okay, what about Muhammad and Aisha? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And they stopped using that for a while. They stopped using Muhammad's moral character as an argument for Islam. And we kept bringing up things like Muhammad and Aisha because we wanted people to understand that, no, that's you can't rely on his amazing moral character and so on. But now I've seen, like, Muhammad Hijab is that was his number 2 argument in more ways than one. But I saw him in an interview where he was, matter of fact, I think it was on Vladimir's channel, where they asked Muhammad Hijab, how do you know that Muhammad was true prophet? And it was like his number 2 go-to argument was Muhammad his character is so wonderful that he has to be from God. It's like, wait, are you serious? You're circling back to that argument?
Well, we need to ask if Muslims have higher birth rates, which they do. Why is it that they're not the majority right now? Because when Islam started with the early dynasties like the Umayyad dynasty, and they started conquering all this land up into Spain, moving into Turkey, these kinds of areas, their population was relatively about the same as the Christian Europe, if not even higher at that point. So why is it that Christians became a much larger majority? Well, Christians had sustainable birth rates for many generations, including high birth rates, never as high as Muslims though. However, Christians also had certain elements within that led to more political stability, more societal stability, whereas Islam had certain things that led to more wars, more political corruption, and it actually caused, again, not for the people to advance as far as like a society in terms of population growth, because if you're always fighting, if you're having internal disputes, that's going to hinder birth rates. One of the big factors is, in fact, polygamy. We know the Christian West outlaws polygamy. And that has actually been shown to actually, over time, decrease the amount of people in your society, because the top 10% take 4 wives. So like then what ends up happening is the bottom 30% of men don't have wives. So what do? Well, they join terrorist groups, gangs, dissident groups, and they cause more corruption. So they're not producing. They're also now causing more wars and chaos internally. And that, again, that is shown to lead to more population decrease long term. Now, again, they definitely have higher birth rates, but you can sort of see why the Christian West has become so big and spread around, because we didn't have certain factors in our society that led to population decrease in certain ways. And so a lot of the sociological and historical factors I'm studying now are showing me certain things in Islam that make me think it we'll never have another caliphate again. We'll never have another Islamic empire, because the sociological aspects just cause it to splinter so much. It will never become what it was with the Turkish Empire, or the Ottomans, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Throughout the history of Islam, you've had lots of different groups vying for power, and occasionally one group would take over and they would run things for a while and so on. And so, yeah, if you have a big empire in place and it has the ability to force compliance on the population, you can get away with that for a while. Once that collapses, it is very, very, very difficult to reestablish, because now you have different countries. Now you don't just have one big caliphate. Now you have a bunch of different countries with their own leaders, their own armies. You have tons of different Islamic groups and so on. And so it would actually be a complete nightmare for them to try and get I think you could get sort of a local caliphate, try to establish like ISIS did and so on, maybe even a nicer version than that, but it would be kind of local. You're not going to have this big menacing empire anymore. So I agree with you on that. But Mike, I know your time is a bit short tonight. One thing I did want to ask, since you're one of the few people who's actually read the literature on this. So when you were getting ready for your debate with Daniel Haqiqatjou, who is famous, and guys, this is Dawah. This is Dawah in a nutshell. This is why Dawah guys have pretty short lifespans, not in terms of how long they live, but their career. They have short career spans. The way to become a popular Dawah guy is to come out with some new shtick or some new way of doing things and run out when people aren't ready for it. And you can become popular for a while. It will not last, because eventually people will catch on to what you're doing and they'll expose you, and then you won't be able to use that method anymore. And so if you just became popular because of what you were doing, and then people learn to adapt to that, you're not going to have a long Dawah career. So Daniel Haqiqatjou is a perfect example of that. He's someone who came along and had some early debates where he's, and this study shows this, and this study shows that, and this study shows this, and this study shows that. And, oh, you're saying this? Well, you've been refuted by this study. And guess what? He's citing all these studies. People haven't read all those studies. So people think that he's telling the truth. People think that he's telling the truth, and they're watching going, wow, he's so knowledgeable, he's so brilliant, he's read all this stuff. That works.
He's citing them from his Predator computer.
Yeah, his Predator computer, his Predator laptop. And eventually he made the mistake of debating someone who will read all of those sources, because most of us aren't. We're not going to do it. IP did. So you actually read all this stuff. You exposed him for completely misrepresenting things along the lines of, did you read past the second sentence of the abstract? Because you don't seem to have any clue what the source is actually saying. It completely goes against you. And I haven't seen him win after that. Like, once people caught on to what he's doing, then you're not going to trust this guy with sources anymore. And it's a situation. And by the way, there are Muslim copycats who started copycatting that. Like, we'll just go in there, we'll say there are all these sources, and there's this scholar and that scholar and stuff, and they completely misrepresent things. But people, it's to the point now where people will just say, look, before you quote a source, you need to send it to me ahead of time so I can read it, because I simply can't trust you guys. I can't trust you guys with sources because you guys twist everything and so on. So anyway, you're one of the few, long story short, you're one of the few people who read all this stuff. You read all the studies, all the research on child marriage, and you've also you are familiar with Daniel's arguments. You debated him, and people have been coming at you with all sorts of arguments. As someone who's read the literature and who has become familiar with their arguments, because they use arguments that, hey, this was this was sometimes allowed in the past, and this and that. How good do you think their arguments are?
Oh, they're some of the worst. I mean, just to give you an example, like, look, Daniel Hakikachu was citing Bruce Rind for years, and Stream and Debate. Oh, this guy has shown that, interaction with adults and minor women or girls is okay. He says it's fine. Well, Bruce Rind didn't show that at all. Bruce Rind was just arguing that we shouldn't call that a mental disorder, but he clearly says in his papers it causes harm to the girls involved. In fact, he cited the 1998 the famous 1998 Rind paper, which is a meta-analysis to try to show this. The problem is that meta-analysis found that the girls reported negative experiences. The boys were the ones who didn't report negative experiences with older male interaction or older adult interaction. So ironically, the study he was showing shows that maybe that it's okay for men to go after young boys, but not girls. And that's what he was trying to use to justify child marriage. And the funny thing is, of course, that paper was an outlier. Like, there was an umbrella study done, long-term outcomes of child sexual abuse, an umbrella review. And it just said that, no. You look at all the meta-analysis, the Rind study is an outlier. But Daniel didn't want to tell his audience that. He just wanted to cite the one, but he didn't even read it. If he would have read it, he would never have cited it, because he's a Salafi. He doesn't think any sort of homosexual interaction is good. But Rind was basically saying that it might not be that bad for the boys, but it is bad for the girls. It's like, dude, you obviously didn't even read this paper or any of the papers you cited. And since then, he's not really cited Rind anymore, because I think he realized after I debated him, oh crap, this is the guy that NAMBLA uses. Why would I use them? But it's like, but he didn't read past the abstract in a lot of these papers. He just thought that Rind was talking about interaction between men and girls. He wasn't. He was focusing mostly on boys, like, which maybe, I don't know, maybe Daniel knew that. And he was just trying to slip that in there for his Muslim audience because he just wanted to maybe get that past them, possibly. Who knows?
Yeah, no way of knowing. But it is, I keep mentioning that there's always a fallacy involved, but this is like extreme, apart from just flat out deception and misrepresentation and so on, it's like extreme cherry picking. It's, let me go out and find any study that I can cherry pick and say is agreeing with me in some sense. But then it's even worse, because they'll go to like a sentence in there, which if you cherry pick and completely ignore everything else the article says, you can twist into something agreeing with you and so on. And it's just like, this is what you need. But here's the thing. Anyone from any position can use a fallacy, right? Like there are Christians who you can, hey, that's a fallacy, man. And anyone can make a sloppy argument and so on. That doesn't tell you that a position is wrong. Someone using a fallacious reasoning to defend a position does not tell you that the position is wrong. The question is, are there actually non-fallacious arguments for it? But when these guys are defending something like child marriage and everything they use is fallacious, you have to start wondering at some point, wait, why is every single argument they're using terrible and fallacious and based on deception? It starts suggesting that there is no way to defend this that doesn't involve either lying or a fallacy. And so guys.
It's not just Daniel Hakikachu. It's Mohammed Hijab also on Piers Morgan's show. Quoting the headline or like whatever, cherry picking. They are reading papers like they are reading Quran and the Bible.
Yeah,
cherry picking all the way.
Yeah, and keep in mind that's built into Dawah, right? That's built into Dawah. Where's Muhammad in the Bible? Right here, he's in this verse. What about the next verse, which completely refutes it? Oh, just ignore that. Okay, that's now you're cherry picking. And so yeah, they just applied that. They just applied that to everything, and yeah, now they use it for articles and so on. So what Daniel was just pointing out, not Daniel Hakikachu, the good Daniel here, what Daniel was pointing out was Muhammad Hijab when he was on Piers Morgan. So this is a huge show. And he claimed that a news article showed that the civilian to combatant ratio of people killed by the IDF is 100 to 1. 100 civilians for every actual Hamas combatant. I'm just sitting there going, wait a minute. People are arguing whether it's 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 or 1. Where are you getting 100 to 1? He's like, no, it's in there. It's in there. And anyway, we went to the actual article. It just sucks because he got away with this for the entire show because he's catching people off guard. They're not familiar, and he's saying, "Oh, there's this source that shows it," and so you kind of have to clean up the mess afterwards. But we went to it, and it was saying the number of people dead and the number of commanders that have been killed, and he took commanders as combatants. And then applied that. And so anyway, it was just terrible, terrible stuff, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over again. Anyway, IP, we don't want to keep you forever, but just two last things. One, what are your predictions for 2025? Is it going to be better for them than this year has been for Dawah guys? I'm thinking of it's going to be better. Is it going to be about the same? Are things going to get worse? And two, what are you going to be working on? What are you going to have coming out in 2025 for everybody?
Yeah, well, it's obviously going to get worse. I mean, did you see that Sneeko wished everyone Merry Christmas on December 24th?
No, I didn't see that, but I'm going to get that. Oh man, I would have wished him. He blocked me, just for correcting him on something. He actually cited. He cited 434 as being good for women because it says men are the protectors of women. You see, we're protectors. I'm like, you keep reading the same verse, which says you can beat them into submission. And then so he blocked me because of that. But yeah, so Sneeko wishing Merry Christmas. Awesome. I'm sure he caught some flack for that. But I wish because Mo Salah is a soccer player, but he wishes people Christmas every year. And every year he catches it from the Salafis. And every year he just ignores them. And so kind of based guy. But yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of the same stuff. In fact, I've not really seen a lot of the big Dawah guys the past 6 months, really. Like a little bit here or there, but I mean, like, what have they been doing lately? Like people like Ali Dawah are just like putting out clickbait videos and trying to view farm. It's like, are they even doing Dawah anymore? Do they care? Like, I don't know what they're doing anymore. So for all I know, they've just sort of given up and they're now just trying to protect what they have and they're just focusing on that. I have no clue.
Daniel, I see you grinning. Did you want to say something, Daniel?
No, I just think it's funny because exactly what the Dawah channels has become is like a soap opera, like drama, and what do they think? What do they think? And like, is this? Are you trying to convert me to your religion, or are you trying to like become like a social influencer and just create storm in water glass? And what are they thinking? How about this? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's it's pretty bad. So what do you got coming out for everyone?
Yeah, I'll be doing some stuff on the Old Testament early this year, arguing for its reliability, specifically the Pentateuch, the Torah specifically. I'm going to argue a lot of stuff on. I got a 49, 50-minute video planned on that, and then that's part 1 of part 2 because there's so much data I found to argue for the reliability of the Pentateuch that I'm going to be using. Probably a lot you guys have never even heard of because it's like in these obscure papers and books no one has ever picked up. So I'll be doing that. And then I'm going to start my series that you told me to do on all the benefits of Christianity. So in June, I'll have a video titled How Christianity Ended Slavery. That's going to be about 30 minutes. I'm working on the next script, which is How Christianity Saved Children. And I'll be showing how the ancient Romans committed vast amounts of infanticide through child exposure, forcing women into brothels and then forcing them to have abortions. So they keep working in the brothels. And then just showing that Christianity led to all these good results about where they were outlawing abortion, infanticide, shutting down brothels, putting children in orphanages and monasteries, which they converted into orphanages because they just wanted to try to help children so much. So I'll be talking about that. Then I'll do one on like how Christianity created human rights. I'll do one on how Christianity spread literacy and education, one on how Christianity created science. So I'm gonna do a whole series on that, and so I'm just writing the scripts for that now.
And guys, that's some very important material. Matter of fact, I said that at a conference like 10 or 12 years ago. This was at EPS, and I was saying it to Paul Copan, where he was giving a presentation on how Christianity changed the world. And I was telling him that I'd had some interactions with some atheists right before that. It was, I think it was like a couple weeks or a couple months before that or something like that. But I'd had a debate at Columbia University against an atheist, and I was hanging out with atheists afterwards. And they eventually got to the point where they're saying they don't care what the arguments are, and they don't even care if Christianity is true. All that matters to them is that it's bad for the world. And so I was bringing that up to Paul Copan, and I was like, if that's how lots of atheists are thinking, that I don't even care what the arguments are or care if it's true, I just have a problem with it because it's bad, then it may be more important to be responding to that stuff instead of actually just giving traditional arguments for theism or something like that. So anyway, yep, good stuff coming out from IP. And along the lines of what you're just saying, as far as the Dawah guys like changing, it does seem like they're becoming like gossip channels and so on. Like they're becoming National Enquirer type channels and so on. It's like, you guys are just giving up, man. You guys are just giving up on stuff.
AP and I did a video. We responded to that stupid mall event earlier this year, where like people reported like they saw some alien figure. So Ali Dawah did a video. It was a jinn. I'm telling you, a jinn. So we like did a video on that. Like I was like, I can't believe this is what has become of them. Like they're now just gossip chains. You're absolutely right.
Wild stuff, man. This is man. Fun stuff.
David, this you mentioned about the conference and these people that just really wanted it to be bad. These atheists you were talking about reminds me a little bit of something I quoted in my new book about a study from the atheist experience in 2021, and they posted a question that if God were real, would you worship it? And there were 19,000 people voting on that poll, and 16,500 people said no. So basically 86% of the people, they said that they would not worship God even if it were real. So that's something to take to heart. Like many people out there that they really have this attitude towards God. And there were like 2,000 comments under that poll, and most of them were directed at the Christian God.
Yep, that is these are weird times, but I think things are changing right now. I think things are changing for a couple reasons. So one of the main ones is the atheists basically had over 2 decades now to show that their theories are correct, namely that as a society becomes more secular and less Christian, it's going to improve and become more scientific. And guess what? That has not happened. In fact, according to Jordan Peterson, it's the opposite. He's saying science is more in date. He said this to Richard Dawkins. He says, you have more problems now saying what you think as a scientist than you did before. So what happened? So anyway, Jordan Peterson's theory that he proposed was because the underlying axioms that science is based on are religious ideas in nature, then attacking the foundation of that, you're ultimately going to cause problems for science. So anyway, I think things are going to be changing because people are realizing that the predictions of the new atheist have not come true. Anyway, thanks IP for jumping in there, and we look forward to what you've got coming out for us in 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the new year.
All right, man. Catch you later. And we had Chris from Speaker's Corner in the chat. He says he said in a super chat that he's going to sleep and so on. That's cool. But we are going to actually be looking at a little of his footage later on because he compiled some footage of violence at Speaker's Corner from 2024. All right, let's jump back. Now we have number 3, Dawah fail. And now they got me wondering because first they were pretty rough. Here we go.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate disowned.
Stop being gay.
Who's the one that's gay? Who's the homo? It's you, Tate.
Alex, isn't it Easter Sunday?
What is this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to church.
Know about this?
Well, I'm going. So it's midnight and we're going to worship Jesus.
Yeah.
So we're a bunch of guys getting in their supercars on a mission to go and praise Jesus.
Basically, yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Let's go. Amen.
Nothing more inspirational than saddling up with your boys in a bunch of supercars and taking time out your day to go and praise the Lord Jesus Christ. It doesn't get better than that, does it, Bailey?
It doesn't.
Andrew, you're at church.
Amen,
with me.
brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is amazing. We're at church.
It's midnight and we're going to light a candle.
I can't wait.
Me neither.
Oh yeah, hang on. I forgot about this. Me and AP covered it a while back. It's weird. This is why you need the these sort of Dawah rewinds at the end of the year, because the stuff comes in so fast that people just forget about it. Like we covered this, and I forgot about it. And so this is Fareed. This is Fareed trying to correct Andrew Tate. Hey, you're a Muslim. Why are you? Matter of fact, let me just read what Fareed says. I would recommend that Andrew Tate, take some time off from social media and think about why worshiping Jesus is haram. Yes, Andrew, worshiping the creation and polytheism are actually haram. You mind, he's not being terribly offensive there. But he's talking to narcissists who cannot handle correction. That's what happens. This is why. Here's the problem, everyone who's watching. The sort of people who become popular in Dawah are narcissists, because narcissists are good at getting attention for themselves, and they want attention for themselves. And so people like that can insert themselves into a situation where they can get a lot of attention. I'm the one humiliating the kuffar, and you'll get lots of attention. The problem is, eventually, when someone crosses a line, it's very difficult to correct a narcissist. They won't stand for it. Now, not all the Dawah guys are narcissists. Fareed is not a narcissist. Sajid, not a narcissist. Daniel, even, not a narcissist. Hijab, narcissist. Ali Dawah, narcissist. Sheikh Uthman, narcissist. Tristan and Andrew Tate, definitely narcissists. So this is what happens when you present your champion, Andrew Tate, to the Ummah as your new hero. And you try to correct him, but he's got a brother to stand up for him. So that's what Fareed said. And then Tristan's response.
By the way, Tristan should actually just said that it's a metaphysical matter.
Yeah, that's what he should have. See, Tristan isn't familiar with our responses to Fareed, because he could have used that. He could have used Fareed's response whenever Fareed is questioned. It is a metaphysical matter. So Tristan said he came to church out of respect for me, just as I fast on Ramadan out of respect for him. Stop crying like a, ouch, gays aren't allowed in Islam. That's how he responds to Fareed, simply pointing out that you shouldn't be advocating worshiping Jesus. So from an Islamic perspective, Fareed is correct here, and Tristan is actually wrong here. It wasn't simply a matter of respect. Even if Andrew Tate is kind of joking or something like that, he's saying we're going there to worship Jesus. And so these guys are very, very sensitive to that sort of thing. The Dawah guys, the people who propped up Andrew Tate for the Ummah and said, here's your new hero and here's your new champion. Those are the guys who really have a problem with saying, hey, let's go worship Jesus on Christmas. And so it was bound to collapse in on itself. But let's go ahead and continue.
To stop being gay.
Hang on. Why are Muslims more upset with this post than they are with Andrew Tate openly worshiping Jesus in public at church on Easter Sunday? This says a lot about the status of Muslims today. Oh, so they were more upset with him posting that little picture there. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that too. Cry more. I didn't know gays were allowed in Islam.
To stop being gay.
Burn.
All the Muslim grifters are turning on each other.
So let's see this clip from Sneeko, and I'll reply to it.
By Andrew's logic, white supremacists are totally right. He should be kicked out of Romania. You see how stupid that is? Like, why is Andrew trying to be a white supremacist now when he's black?
You're right, I am black. And yeah, I'd love to get deported out of this place. They kept me here for 3 years. Been stuck here. Wish they would deport me, because I keep having kids with Romanian women. I'm not here to end Sneako's career. I mean, I could. I'm that guy. They should kick him out of Romania. Well, yeah, if they want Romanians here, they'll let my ass come here in human traffic. Just kick me out.
If you believe that you're superior because you're white, you are Jewish.
What race are you?
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Did Sneeko just say, if you believe you're superior because you're white, then you're Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah. He actually called Andrew Tate a Jew.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
This, guys,
Can't make this up.
Yeah, I'm concerned that there are people in the chat who do not know that the people we're dealing with, these are like the heroes, right? These are the heroes of Sneeko. Yeah, Sneeko and Andrew Tate, they were the poster kids for, you see, it's working. Now we're getting powerful influencers, and you see what they're doing. There's going to come a time where we're going to have to go back to our videos when these things were happening, and we're just sitting there going, this is going to be bad for you, and you're too dumb to realize it because you're so desperate. It's like back then I compared it to someone who's drowning. If you're drowning and stuff, it's dark and you're drowning, and you're gonna latch on to anything you can grab onto. You don't care what it is. You're not thinking about it. You're just, my goodness, I'm drowning. I need to grab onto something. That's what they were doing when they started clinging to Sneeko and Andrew Tate and so on. I said, this is not, you do not know what you're clinging. You do not know what you're latching onto now. This is going to hurt you bad eventually. And certainly looks like that.
You warned them. You did warn them.
You did.
Can't say the Dizzle didn't warn you, but let's see what we got here.
Blasian, and there's a little bit of Jew in there too.
He's kind of like one of those girls who like starts a fight and gets in your face and says, hit me then, hit me, hit me, hit me, and then like hits you 3 times, hit me, and then you hit her and she's like, oh.
What did Tate say? Tate says, I stopped talking to you years ago for a reason. Okay, you know, I give a fair criticism based off of Islam there. If that's what you believe instead of Islam, then okay.
No, Sneeko, that's not what happened. You questioned my faith and called me a Jew, so you were responded to in kind. You cannot be a passive-aggressive little girl, but if you talk that way to people, you're going to be responded to a certain way, and you do it all the time. It's not just me, it's just who you are. You're very, like, smarmy, snarky, but you deserved it, and you got brutally wrecked because you deserved it, because you can't call me a Jew, and also, just because you've been Saudi and I've been trapped on house arrest, you don't get to be a better Muslim than me and tell me how the world works either, friend. No hard feelings, but you deserved it. Right? If you said it in person, I would have knocked your ass out, and I would have helped you get up afterwards and said, sorry, sir, I had to break your jaw. Anyway, no hard feelings, friend. You must be a idiot or hate white people. The only racist here, sir, is you. It's actually gay.
Yeah.
The Dawah champs. All right, so anyone got any thoughts on that? Good.
The usage of Jew as a weapon of identity it's interesting. You know, it's very problematic. But
how did that make you feel as someone who's half
from
Jewish?
That background? Yeah, it feels really awful. I think anti-Semitism is like, it's a disease, it's an illness. I mean, how would people feel if people said, look at the movie True Lies, look at Delta Force, look at all these movies and say, look at these Arab depictions. All Arabs are these horrible, evil people that want to do jihad. I think it would be hard if someone showcased and said, well, this is what an Arab is. It's the same kind of thing, I think, with showcasing Jewish people in this way.
It is interesting how their level of insults against each other. You're gay. No, you're a Jew. You're gay. No, you're a Jew. Well, you're not fully white. Well, you're not fully white. You're this, you're that. Well, you're gay. Well, you're hey, go be gay somewhere else. Go be a Jew. This is like, these are the poster boys for Dawah. These were their 2 big hopes. Guys, you had the Dawah guys. Then you had these converts who were propped up as, you see, we're making a difference. This is the proof that Dawah's working, and we're winning over powerful influencers. And then you catch up with those powerful influencer converts to Islam. A couple years later, gay, no, you're a Jew. Well, you're gay. Well, you're a Jew. Gay Jew, gay Jew. This is how things are going. Awesome stuff.
Can
What
you
are saying,
imagine
Daniel?
William Lane Craig? Can you imagine Dr. William Lane Craig and Gary Habermas and stuff talking to the John like this?
That's actually
I
a
just had
perfect
it in my
example.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are basically 12 facts that show that my opponent is in fact gay. Well, you're Dr. Habermas. You're a Jew. Well, at least I'm not gay. And here you got to have 12 facts. It's like we can't even comprehend that.
Premise 1: you are gay.
Number 1. Any updates on the avalanche of apostasy? How do you see the future of Christianity and Islam in the next 30 years in North America and Europe? As far as the avalanche, what I think you mean as far as avalanche of apostasy is you mean, are there any updates on statistics? Because we had the statistic several years ago that 24% of Muslim youth were leaving Islam, and there were stats like that. 100,000 people per year leaving Islam just in the United States. I'm not aware of any recent studies on this. As far as how I see the future of Christianity and Islam in the next 30 years in North America and Europe, I think you're going to see a Christian revival here in the near future, because people are seeing sort of what's going on with Islam and seeing that the new atheism was wrong in its predictions and so on. Whether that revival is going to last and be world-changing, I don't know. Islam, I said earlier, I think Islam is going to basically, the kind of Islam that the Dawah guys are proclaiming, that's going to become more of like a global gang. And it's not even going to be about arguments or evidence anymore. With that said, that doesn't mean that it's going to just fall apart or collapse or something like that. There is, if the world becomes increasingly divided and people are attacking each other more and more, it actually helps saying, hey, I'm going to join a gang and I got over 1 billion people on my side. So that can actually happen. But I think the avalanche is going to continue, because this is very recent, guys. You go back 20 years, people knew nothing about Islam. Now people know some things about Islam, and Islam starts collapsing as people start exposing the false claims of the Dawah guys and so on. So this is just getting started. So this is not ending anytime soon for Islam. Anyone else have any thoughts on this? Nope.
I think it hasn't even peaked yet, the avalanche. As much of an avalanche as it has been, I don't think it has even peaked.
Yeah, I don't either.
Do you know what's actually really interesting? The population of Muslims in the United States is really, really small.
Yep.
It's like around like 1%. It's like 4.5 million. It's half of the Jewish population in the United States. So, I mean, there's not, like in the voting, there's not going to be really a major impact, I think, within the Muslim community in the United States. And this is like all different ethnic groups too. So,
yeah, that's something I've pointed out. People are like, is Islam gonna take over the world? It's like, no, the places where people are doing showing the statistics and so on, saying, hey, Islam will eventually be a majority in Germany and in these places in France and so on. Those studies are not about the United States. You have the number of Muslims in the United States slowly increasing, but the population is slowly increasing. So Islam hovers around 1 to 1.5%. And so doesn't look like Islam's going to be taking over. Now, you can have politicians and so on who pander and so on, who can, cause problems and so on. But I don't think Islam's going to be taking over the United States or anything.
But there's also just so many closet ex-Muslims, like still goes to the mosque and do the 5 daily prayers and just play up for the show. They are worried of, in the West, if they openly renounce their faith, they will have like a social suicide. And in Muslim countries where they operate with Sharia, partially or fully, they get into prison or they get executed. So I think we will never even have like a proper, accurate statistic in this either.
I would say that's fair too, because a lot of Muslims are cultural Muslims. So it's like, just like you think of cultural Christians, there are folks who go to Eid, go and celebrate stuff with their family, but that's the extent of what Islam is. It's not like you actually know what the theology is. So that's important to think about too.
Indeed. All right, we still have a bunch more super chats, but we'll get to those here in a second. We'll go ahead and check out the fourth point. The fourth point. So this is number 2, right? This is This is the number 2 Dawah fail of 2024, according to Jai and DOC.
Yeah, big scandal. Yes, that is his dad. We're going to show the video. Calls himself Professor Nabil Hijab. That's the Egyptian way that they say his name.
We've given ourselves permission to talk about someone's family. Number one, because this is all out there. This is all online. It's all public.
Yes.
Albeit not very well known. We are going to make it well known. If they haven't done anything wrong, then they have nothing to worry about. And if they have done something wrong, then we need to warn people against this. Second, Mimi Hijab recently gave himself permission to talk about somebody's family. Alex Jones's family.
His mother is nothing, and he is nothing. His father is nothing. His whole family is nothing. You nothing. What have you achieved? Tell me what the Jones have achieved. I want to know what the Jones family has achieved in Oklahoma, you hillbilly, you redneck. What have you achieved, you hillbilly, you redneck?
So we want to ask this question. What happened?
Jai and DOC, Daniel and Issa, I don't know how familiar you guys are with that clip. Well, I know Jai and DOC are. I don't know about Daniel and Issa there, that particular clip. It's significantly longer with Hijab's antics going after Alex Jones and his mom. But did he seem like stoned out of his mind to anyone else?
Yes.
High on camel urine, for sure.
Definitely, yeah, he did.
Do you know what's interesting, though, is that he attacks Alex Jones. And Alex Jones actually supported Muslims during, because he made a documentary, or whatever you want to call it, called Loose Change, where he said that 9/11 was an inside job, which basically exonerates Muslims from what happened during 9/11. So, I mean, it's really shocking that Mohammed Hijab would actually take a pot shot at Alex Jones. Alex Jones has been pretty supportive of the Muslim community, so I think that's strange.
And pretty darn supportive of critics of the Jews in Israel. And so this should be your best buddy, and yet didn't work out. Sad. But yeah, the purpose of bringing that clip up for Jai and DOC was to show that family is fair game, according to Mohammed Hijab, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, what have they accomplished is what he's saying. And Alex Jones, I think his dad was a dentist. So, I mean, it's a pretty good accomplishment.
Oh, weakling!
Let's see what Mohammed Hijab and his family have accomplished.
All right, let's go.
The Hijabs achieved.
His father, here we go. And he's going to be talking about his organization, Cambridge Training College.
Is a stepping stone to aim for studying MBA degree at universities. This mini MBA program is a preparation for working officially and professionally.
This is not the University of Cambridge. They took the name of the university.
Smart.
This is not the prestigious British university. This is a college, but they called it Cambridge Training College, Britain.
Here's the logo. And if you compare that to actual University of Cambridge, you'll see
It's got
very
like,
similar. Yeah, four-line looking things. University of Cambridge. That's the actual logo.
and notice the colors, the red and white,
And then look
And
at
yellow.
And then look at his.
also red and white and yellow, with one
Yes.
dragon or lion looking figure.
You see like the gray and the white. This is supposed to be transparent. This is the transparent thing. He actually he put it on the logo. Like he kept it on the logo. This is a big rookie mistake that he just left it on there. Okay, and now this is the website. Now you guys are gonna be shocked at what type of degrees they offer. Hospital quality management, supply chain. They're doing the accreditation themselves. Airline courses.
Oh my!
Woo!
You guys want? Do you guys want to go to Cambridge Training College? You can do medical courses, cognitive behavioral therapy courses.
I just have to say, I don't want anyone connected to Mohammed Hijab at all teaching anything having to do with airline stuff. I'll just put that out there. Go back.
Child psychology.
Definitely not that.
That's child physio.
Oh, sorry, physiology.
But there's a mistake. There's a typo. They couldn't
Phys-
spell physiology correctly.
Physiology.
Cooking
Physiology.
courses. You guys want to do cooking courses? Customer service, teaching and learning in schools.
So much to do at
human
Cambridge
resources.
College of
Everything.
learning.
What have the Hagab family achieved? Apparently, everything in life, all the skills that you need in life, they can teach you. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean music? All the instruments? There's like how many instruments?
Apparently, you just get a degree in everything at this university. Pharmaceutical marketing. Legal courses, guys. You can
be a lawyer.
You can do medicine. You can do
be a
law, petroleum.
That's just like a substance.
Are you-
That's not a course.
Clinical pharmacology.
Okay, that's too far. That's an actual degree. To be a pharmacist in the UK, that's a 4-year degree. You don't just go to Hagab's family little college and learn pharmacology.
Healthcare quality management. You have a nurse taking care of someone in bed.
That's a real technical skill. You can't just get it online. That's insanity.
What about infection control?
Oh my God.
Guys, Muhammad Hijab, his dad, Professor Hijab, Nabil Hijab, is going to give you guys a certificate in infection control. Okay, guys, look, this is Cambridge Training College. These are just the Google reviews. Having my postgraduate education from Cambridge University, I have been asked many times about this college. I prefer to share my answer here to save more victims
Oh my.
from getting deceived when they see Cambridge in the name. Here is the reply from the Department of Education that I received regarding this college.
I can confirm that the bodies calling themselves the quote Cambridge Training College Britain unquote and the quote Cambridge International College unquote are not recognized by the UK
Authorities as a UK university
with UK degree awarding powers.
Look at this one. It says fake, 1 star. Another one,
Fake.
1 star, fake. Another one, exposed. Another one here.
Fake certificates. The website is fake.
Oh,
A scammer man.
He's a scammer.
And a website for scamming and
So, just to be clear, these these degrees, and it's clear what's going on. They took the name Cambridge, included it so that people would have a degree technically from a place that has Cambridge in the name, but these degrees would not be recognized in the UK, and so you can't get your pharmaceutical degree from this place and then go and get a job somewhere because, well, the only way you would is if they just see Cambridge and they go, wow, Cambridge, and they didn't actually pay much attention to what the degree actually, where it's actually from. But if they were paying attention to anything, these degrees would not help you at all. And so it's something more likely that you would use in some other country to say, hey, I got a degree from Cambridge, look at this, and look at the logo. And that's it. Other than that, it's just worthless.
Do
Is that
you
correct?
mind if I ask a question?
Yep.
You got it.
So, Jai and DOC, do you know if all of these courses are online? Like, are these just a bunch of online courses? And do we know, like, even what the courses look like? Like,
Well, the
how they
website
were
is still up.
constructed?
The website is still up. Interestingly, a week after that stream, they fixed the spelling mistakes that we pointed out the week before.
Yeah, so Muhammad Hijab, he
So
must
they're paying
have got
attention.
wind of this. Yeah, Muhammad Hijab must have got wind of the stream, and they made a bunch of edits on the website. They changed petroleum to petroleum technician,
because we made fun of it.
and they changed airline courses.
You said petroleum's a substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've changed that. They changed child physiology, whatever that typo was, to child psychology, and they changed airline courses to ticketing course, airline ticketing.
That's good. So they're upgrading. They're upgrading in response to your feedback.
Yeah, we got all the screenshots with the dates.
Yeah.
So that, you know.
Issa, you kind of look like you're like, ooh, I could grab one of those degrees.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in school forever. I'm like your perpetual student, so I've seen what institutions that give out paper mill institutions. See, like something that like you could do a litmus test. Like when you see something is counterfeit and something that's authentic. A lot of authentic universities use things like Blackboard or Canvas. That's how you go and do online programs, like how you would do like discussion boards and stuff like that. So my question is, like, if you're going to go and become like an airline pilot, Well, that seems like a job just like if you're a nurse. You kind of have to do a practicum in person.
You need to be doing
couldn't
some
just do
stuff,
it online.
seriously.
I don't know
Well,
how you would do that.
You send the money, and when you come to reality, there's nothing there.
Exactly.
And there was also one of the reviews said the number when they try to call it, it doesn't work.
Uh-oh. That's not good. All right, let's see where the rest of this video goes here.
Perception.
Now look at the 5 stars. There's no comments under any of the 5-star comments. And look at this. They all have the same last name. These ones, look.
Yasmin Bip.
Bip.
Batter.
Bip.
Aman
Bip. And then, guys, you guys are going to crack up at this one. Look at this.
Bippy
Christian
McBip.
Action. Because you guys know how Muslims will do that. Muslims will go to like these debates and they'll be like, I'm a Christian, but I was convinced by the arguments of the Muslims.
I was the Pope. I was the Pope, but I was converted.
This is what their degrees look like. We have awarded this diploma by the authority vested to us by the college. So, guys, they're giving their own degrees invested to them by themselves.
Is that?
He's got a little stamp on there. Oh, that's a signature.
The hijab signature.
Hijab signature. Professor Hijab, Director of Training.
We have granted this award in this field by the authority vested in us by the college in Britain. The college in Britain.
There's only one college in Britain, guys. So this is Professor Nabil Hijab. Guys, look at this. Professor. We're going to look into his titles now.
Professor of what? What has he
We're gonna take
achieved?
a look.
What has he achieved?
So,
what have you achieved, you hillbilly, you redneck?
Managing Director of CDC Britain. That's the Cambridge Training College, which Muhammad Hijab, his son, was the director of for 4 years until he started going to Speaker's Corner. What is this?
Honorary professor.
Be very careful with how you read this last word here.
Examinations and assessment.
Guys,
assessment. That's not a word, Professor.
Honorary degrees, honorary professors. They have a database for this.
And guess who doesn't appear on the database anywhere?
Let's see.
The professor himself. Professor Hijab has worked as a qualified assessor for many years in the field of English language and teacher training to English teachers, assessing vocational qualifications in Britain and international. His job is to teach English, and he can't spell assessment and international.
His job is to teach
Yeah.
Wow.
That was it.
So the LinkedIn page that was really crazy. After that, they actually edited it to where they first of all they fixed a bunch of the typos we pointed out. They fixed
By the way, we only put two typos here for the sake of time.
They spelled university wrong.
Many typos. First was spelled wrong.
Yeah, if you go back a little bit, you'll see University of Manchester is spelled wrong
without an I.
Yeah, and
lots of others like the MacArthur dictionary was spelled wrong. And Nabil Hijab, the dad, called himself the KFC. He is to KFC to the college as
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah,
that's what he actually said on the LinkedIn page. And after we made fun of all that, now you can't find the LinkedIn page. It's privated.
Well, first, what he did was, because we showed on the University of Manchester's websites that they actually list who their honorary people are, whether they're degrees or professorships. He wasn't on there. They actually changed it. They erased the honorary professor, so he's no longer Professor Hijab anymore. They turned him into doctor, and then they just deleted his LinkedIn page altogether, so it's completely privated.
Yeah, so he took away his professorhood and the honorary side of it and just called himself doctor. And we got screenshots of all these changes and the dates on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. So again, people might be thinking, oh, why are you going to go after Muhammad Hijab's dad? Well, that's what Muhammad Hijab does. He says, hey, I'm going to make fun of your dad for not accomplishing something. And he was saying that about someone who was a dentist. That's what he was. And we know what is considered a very, very strong father figure to Muhammad Hijab. It's someone who is a big con artist.
Yeah.
And that's actually perfect. I mean, think, if this guy's a professional con artist, this makes a lot of sense. Those are exactly the skills you would want in Dawah. You'd want the skills of a con artist. you'll do very well in Dawah.
Well, at least he had many. At least he had many references from the Bip family.
Yeah, that is the famous
Can't take
Bip,
that away from him.
the famous Bip family. we have Albert Bip, Bobby Bip, Charles Bip, David Bip. It's like you're just going through the alphabet.
And don't forget Christian Xgen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Christian Xgen. Yeah, I know that dude.
Yeah,
I was like, hey, what's your name? He's like, Christian. It's like, hey, what's your last name? Xgen. I was like, oh, yeah. Hey, you got any degrees? Yeah, I do, from the Cambridge College of
Petroleum.
Yeah.
Petroleum Studies. My professor was Muhammad Hijab's dad.
Interestingly, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Just one thing I wanted to add too was I was a special ed teacher for 2 years. I did AmeriCorps and I was a special ed teacher, and I got certified, and it was super hard. Like, you have to take these exams called the Praxis, and it's super difficult. It's super hard to become a teacher. So like when I saw those certifications, I'm like, I don't know how. I'm pretty sure the UK isn't all that different from the US. It's super difficult to become a teacher. You have to do a lot. Like, I had to do a master's degree. I had to get like people to like look at my class and see if I was teaching correctly. It was a lot of work. So when I see this kind of thing of just like you put a paragraph and say people just said I'm a teacher, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, some of that stuff is I mean, it's all bad in the sense of, if you just pay for a diploma saying that you have mastered English or something like that, okay, someone might fall for that and give you a job teaching English that you're not actually qualified for. But not the most harmful thing in the world. You basically scammed some people. Some of this other stuff, if you actually got a job in pharmacology or something like this because you had this fake degree, that's actually dangerous stuff, because you don't, lives are on the line with some of this stuff. If you actually managed to get a job with this fake degree, there's some of this stuff would be legitimately dangerous in the world. So,
yeah. And don't forget, Muhammad Hijab was a director. Was it 4 or 6 years?
We've got evidence that he's directly linked to the Cambridge Training College. It's actually registered as a limited company in the UK, and this is public information. His name is on there for 4 years before, I think, before he joined Speaker's Corner, 2016. Around that time, he is registered as a director of said college.
So now we know where he learned his Dawah skills. He learned the skills. He learned the skills of a con man, how to dupe people, And
it's interesting you say that, because if you go on Muhammad Hajam's page, it's got lots of degrees from like Oxford University and Birmingham University he's studying at now, and apparently, and lots of other degrees. I'm thinking he's not that old. He's in he's 33 or 34, I believe. Where did he get time to have 4 or 5 degrees? Plus other degrees that he got from the Middle East. When? So now that's my next thing. I want to know if those degrees are real too.
Yep. Don't know. But they should actually add a course on how to be a dawahgandist on there. That would actually be more relevant. You do not need a career in pharmacology. Just learn how to be a dawahgandist. You get your PhD in dawahgandistry. All your dreams will come true. Let's take a couple of super chats. Your videos are very Islamophobic, David. Please make more of them. And so I shall. Happy New Year's, all y'all. A friend claims religion is irrational because God's omniscience and foreknowledge contradicts free will and says morality is relative from evolution. Any thoughts are appreciated. Love all y'all. Thanks. Multiple problems here, so we won't go too deep into the problem of foreknowledge and so on. But if you don't have some divine realm or something like that, then free will would be an illusion. As far as like, if you're talking about like a libertarian free will is you actually have multiple things that you could do. And if you do something and you wound back the clock and gave you the opportunity to do it again, you could do something else. If you toss out some sort of divine or spiritual realm or something like that, you're stuck with pretty much straightforward physical causation. So the question is, if you did have legitimate libertarian free will, could God have foreknowledge of what you would do? You have multiple responses. That there are four main directions people have gone in responding to that. Various theologians and philosophers over time. We won't go into them now, but if you're actually interested in that, it would take a full show, or at least a long video, to go through the main responses to that sort of thing. But let's see, anything else there?
David, can I give a very short answer to that?
Sure.
Yeah, so basically, if you go to 1 Samuel chapter 23, it's about how David was on the run from Saul because of he wanted to kill David. And while David and his 600 men was on the run, they were getting news that the Philistines attacked in a city called Keilah.
Keilah. Mm-hmm.
And
hey, just so everyone knows, this is Daniel has obviously done some reading here, because this is one of the examples that's used from the Bible on the issue of foreknowledge or middle knowledge or whatever gets pointed out. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, David and 600 men they take the city back from the Philistines, and while they are there, King Saul gets the news that David is in that city. So he's like, "Oh, let's gather the army and let's surround him and siege the city." And then David hears this, and he gets in quite panic mode. So he calls the priest and get this ephod they had back then, and he used that to call on God and say, "Oh Lord God, your servant has heard that Saul is coming here to surrender and seize the city. Will the men of Keilah deliver me into his hands, and will Saul come here?" Now, both to these questions, God says, yes, Saul will come down here, and yes, the men of Keilah will surrender you to him. And when David hears this, he and his 600 men, they leg it, they bounce, they escape. And then Saul hears this, and he cancels his plan to summon his army and returns. So notice what we have in this passage here. We have God has knowledge about two things that never happened. So foreknowledge does not necessitate predestination. It's a biblical example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so guys, that is one of the four basic directions people have gone in on this issue. That's the direction of middle knowledge, that God knows what you will do in different situations, and you're still not determined to do those things, because God says here's what he'll do in this situation and so on, and it's something that never even happens. In other words, it's Anyway, you can look up middle knowledge, but there are a lot of different options about this. As far as morality being relative from evolution, yeah, I think you are kind of stuck with that. But I don't believe morality is some morality is relative and so on. But if he's just saying, hey, this is how things have happened, therefore morality is relative, well, I'm assuming that would be part of what you're debating, whether morality is relative and so on. But yes, if atheism is true and atheistic evolution were the only option in town, you'd have your moral values are basically a combination of how you're wired and what your society teaches and so on, and what your personal preferences are and so on. It's nothing deeper than that. Whereas if you have something else in the picture, like a moral lawgiver or something like that, then you could get something that's beyond moral relativism. But we could talk about stuff like that in the future. A couple more, and then we'll. What's that?
Notice here we're talking about morality and the foreknowledge of God, etc. And on the other side is you're gay.
Yeah,
no, you're gay.
Yeah. Okay, no, you're gay. No, you're a Jew. No, you're a Jew, but you're a gay Jew. Oh, that's the worst of the worst, being a gay Jew.
Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, it's weird if someone like just tuned in the middle of something and heard us gay Jew, gay. Let me get off this horrible channel. Happy New Year, all. Praying you guys are blessed in 2025. Keep up the awesome work. Here's Chris in Speaker's Corner when he said, Happy New Year to you guys. Too late for me in Britain land. Daniel, however, clearly just never sleeps. If you're talking about Daniel, who's here with us, yes. And if you're talking about Daniel Hakikachu, well, he does sleep. with minors, apparently. Just kidding. Come on. I don't know what that guy does, but I know he defends some really creepy stuff.
So I think I figured out why people don't like Islam.
Oh, let me guess. Things in the Quran and the Hadiths that make your top Muslim dawahgandists in the world say things like this.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I stated. That's
what about age
principle.
4?
If there are signs.
I'm assuming we would view things a bit differently from Issa here, but I would view Muhammad as kind of a guy who scammed his followers and conditioned them to give him anything he wanted over time. But that since he became the role model in Islam, it's very easy to do this in the Islamic community, because you have this pattern set up where the important guy wants this, therefore always give him what he wants. And so, I mean, how do you say that someone like Sheikh Uthman is wrong for beating his wife? It's in the Quran. How do you say that he's wrong for taking another guy's wife? Muhammad did that. It's just, I don't know. It's this weird situation where you look at it and you say, this is so dysfunctional, and you see why it's dysfunctional. And so it matters, guys, who you take as your supreme moral example. That's going to affect things. And we're seeing some of the consequences of that here in the Dawah world. All right. Hey, I know it's late for you, Jai and DOC. You guys wanna go ahead and cut out?
Yeah. Well, Happy New Year. Thanks for having us on. God bless you all. It's good to meet Daniel. Issa, we've spoken before, but it's good to see you with us again. And yeah, always great to be with David. Thank you guys for being with us, and we pray that you guys all have a blessed New Year. May Islam be exposed, and may the Lord Jesus Christ be glorified.
Amen. Thank you so much.
All right.
God bless you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Issa's sounding all emotional.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It's heavy duty. I do think it's important to have accountability, and there are a lot of issues that need to be engaged. And yeah, even the traditions, but there are different types of interpretations that people can take. And I think I would definitely recommend kind of promoting a more peaceful, folks going towards peaceful interpretations as opposed to ones that hurt other lives and exploit lives. And yeah, I think so. I do a lot of work at interfaith. That's kind of my background, is interfaith. So the best kind of interfaith is when you talk about your traditions and say, look, this is where we need to be accountable. And I mean, I'm sure it's really difficult, even in the LDS church, there's different narratives on the Mormon prophet Joseph Smith, and it's complex, it's difficult. And I think we have to have these conversations. And that's why I always come to these spaces, because we're not going to have these conversations if we're afraid to have them. So we need to have them.
Yeah. And so for me, the issue, as far as bringing them up and so on, one, it's a situation across the board, in the sense that anyone who gets into a position of privilege and status can abuse that power. And so you'll see that everywhere. You'll see that in the Muslim world. You'll see that among Hindus. You'll see that among Christians. You'll see that among Jews. You'll see that among atheists. Anyone who gets in a position of status that they can use it and actually condition people not to oppose them or not to expose them for what they're doing, you can end up with these kinds of situations. But it seems to be amplified in the Dawah world, in that it goes beyond just, the sort of baseline human tendency. When people get into positions of power, authority, or prestige or something, they can use that to abuse others. It's culture. It's a more culturally accepted thing in the Dawah community. Like you can dial that up, and it's actually encouraged, and people will look the other way and stuff. And instead of just having one person who's reluctant to, well, I don't want to call this out because then I'll be exposing something that's really important to me. Because Islam is important to you. So do you want to be part of like doing damage to Islam or something like that? But it goes beyond that to where it's not a person who doesn't want to call it out. It's an entire community that doesn't want to call the thing out and that will try to cover it up and will look the other way. And it's rough because there are actual people like Sheikh Uthman's wife who just suffer because of this. And there are like people who, hey, and this guy he just strong-armed my wife from me, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can complain about it, but he'll get me shut out of the mosque, and I can't even prove anything because the marriage is just from the mosque. The government doesn't even recognize it, and so there's like, what do I do here? I had a marriage through the mosque. He has a marriage through the mosque. How do I expose this all? None of this is official according to the U.S. government. What do I do here? All I can do is like complain about him online, and who do people blast? They blast him for exposing it. They come after him like. They don't have a problem with Uthman. They have a problem with this guy for exposing Uthman, and they condemn him for exposing Uthman. And it's just, I don't know, it's just massively, massively dysfunctional. Hey,
the thing is also, Issa and also the people in the chat, the thing is that these are the people that are like sent to our comment section. Muslims will, I had it on my channel recently, you have people saying, how about Islam is true, you don't know Andrew Tate, he is on our side.
Yes, Andrew Tate.
Yeah, and they will send go debate with man and all these things, so this kind of like reviewing these people now, like we are doing here, it's just because these are the top guys that Muslims are saying we should take more seriously, apparently, than what the Quran says, and against when it comes to all the arguments. So it goes back to what I said earlier. Also, I can't imagine top Christian apologists arguing like this and using this wording to each other.
You're gay, you're a Jew, you're gay, you're a Jew, and this just being normal, the normal discourse and so on. So just to be clear, everyone, you can have Christians who act like that and so on. They just don't become, those tend to not become the most popular guys. Whereas in Islam, if you act like that, you become the most popular guy. And when you have the calm guy who's just trying to preach Islam, and so he doesn't take off. It's weird, right? So like, again, I mentioned there are people like Sajid Lippam, right? He focuses on giving dawah and stuff like that, and giving his reasons and so on, giving his perspectives and explaining things, and he just doesn't become anywhere near as popular as a guy who's, I will destroy you all, I will destroy and humiliate the kuffar. And as long as you're saying that, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be the worst person in the entire world. Gosh, it's wild stuff.
Let me
bring on Tony here. No, you go ahead, and I'm going to bring on Tony Costa here.
I want to be like completely transparent and honest. Like, having been in these, like, in a lot of these dialogue spaces, it seems like Muslims really don't understand Christian theology. They don't understand Trinity. Because first of all, they don't understand Jewish theology, which makes it really difficult. If you don't understand Jewish theology, you're not going to understand Christian theology, because Christian theology has all of the, embedded elements that you see from the Tanakh. And it's like, it takes a lot of work. And I've seen a lot of discussions and it's problematic, because they'll say, look, there's these apparent contradictions, like, the death of Judas, or, the different accounts of the Genesis story. And I'm like, but you don't really understand these texts. And also you dismiss them as not even being true. You think that they're made up. And so you don't even take the text seriously. And then you haven't really done the work to be able to do the analysis of these texts. And I don't know how you can really have an engagement. Like, I've seen you, Dr. Wood, you had like dialogues with certain folks like Sheikh Uthman, and he just doesn't understand the Bible. He really doesn't get it. Like, he reads it, he sees the words, but he doesn't understand like Christian theology. And I think that hurts. Like, how can you have a dialogue when you don't even understand your interlocutor's theology,
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, David. How are you, brothers? Good to see you on this New Year's Eve.
Yep, we're rocking in the new year. We got about 2.5 hours before the ball drops, and then we're in 2025. Not sure you've been following all the. How much have you been following Dawah in 2024?
I've been following it pretty close. I've been doing a series on the brother was just mentioning Sheikh Uthman. I've been doing a series on refuting Sheikh Uthman, among other things. But yeah, I've been following it pretty closely. Speaker's Corner as well.
So,
hey, yo, David.
What's up?
Hey, yo, David. Since we have Brother Tony here, it's 3:30 in the morning here. I should probably be taking off.
Oh yeah, go to sleep, man. Go to sleep.
Yeah, probably should. So the new day. I can tell you again, future is still awesome here on this side of the world. But thanks for having me on. This was really fun. It was great hanging out. And
hey, why don't you? Hey, before you say your nice little closing there, why don't you tell people real quick where they can follow you?
Yeah, we'll do. You can follow me on my YouTube channel called DanielApologetics. And I recently published a book, which I worked on 3 years. It's a response to the academically strongest version of Divine Hiddenness, fronted by Professor J.R. Schellenberg. And this book is completely for free on ebook and audiobook on my YouTube channel and website, DanielApologetics.com. So anyone who wants it can go get it for free.
And I think I'll have you back on here in the near future, and you can talk about some of your stuff, because that was like the theme at EPS and ETS this year was divine hiddenness, and so there were lots of presentations on divine hiddenness. And so for anyone who doesn't know, the divine hiddenness, it's the main argument historically against belief in God has been the problem of evil, but divine hiddenness is like the second most kind of important one at the philosophical level. But divine hiddenness is just, hey, if God exists and wants us to believe in him, why don't you just show himself or something like that? And so it can be much more sophisticated than that, but that's the basic gist. And so that's an important area in apologetics. And so yeah, you can follow Daniel Apologetics, and he's got a book out, and we'll have him back on to discuss that in the future.
Awesomeness. Well, take care, guys. God bless, and Happy New Year.
All right.
Happy New Year. God bless you.
Catch you next time, man.
See you. Have you ever wondered, why doesn't God, as the maximally perfect and all-loving being, just give everyone, all humans, throughout history, undeniable proof of his existence, including those who claim to be non-resistant non-believers? Or something similar? Well, then you should definitely check out my free ebook and audiobook. You don't have to register or sign up for anything, just listen directly to the audiobook on YouTube, or download the PDF, or read the animated ebook on DanielApologetics.com. Again, the book is 100% free, and you can share it with anyone. If you want to support my work, I ask for prayers, that you boost the algorithms by subscribing, liking, and commenting on the videos. And if, big if, this ministry is a blessing to you, plus that you are interested and able, there are financial ways you can help this channel, with all from $2 and up monthly, or one-time donations. Any amount is helpful because it all adds up. Links for all this is in the description box. Hope the free book is helpful. God bless.